Welcome back to the corner of food and fun here for the Indiana State Coaches Show. It's hard to believe, but this is the final football-only Coaches Show this year, as the Indiana State basketball shows will get underway next week with head coach Greg Lansing of the Indiana State basketball program and head coach Vicki Hall for the Indiana State women's basketball program. So it's great to have you here with us. We got a great show lined up for you. The Sullivan hero, Sullivan, Indiana, Dakota Caton will join us later on. Michael Hoppert as well, who's been the Wildcat quarterback coming in for the Sycamores. We'll talk to both of them, as well as Craig Smith, who joins us to start off the show. This is the Craig Smith show today.
I don't know about
Craig.
all that, but I appreciate you having me on.
Oh, it's no problem at all. Coach Mallory, unfortunately, couldn't be here tonight just due to some personal reasons. So, Coach Craig Smith, how's it been being in the coaching role now? You kind of do a little bit of everything from your director of football operations role. I know I should say describe everything you do. We'd be here for the hour. So in a short synopsis a little bit for those that maybe don't know all that you do, kind of describe everything you kind of put together here for this football program as you guys go throughout a normal week.
Yeah, so my role really varies when it comes from the college football world. It depends really on the head coach that you're working for. But really my role right now entails, obviously the traveling aspect of planning the trips, making sure the hotel, food, logistics, buses, airplanes, all that stuff is set up. That's kind of the base, I would say. And then from there, it branches off from the daily tasks that Coach Mallory has, whether it's scheduling, whether it's making sure players are hitting certain things. But really the base, I would just say it's the organization of everything from a football program standpoint, whether it's money, whether it's from food standpoint, like I said, all those different tasks. But that's really the base layer. And like I said, the day-to-day stuff varies. I dabble in media a little bit, dabble in different things. But really just what Coach Mallory has for that day and staying organized for him is kind of the main thing.
Of course, just like with the rest of the staff that we've had on here throughout the fall, about the connection to the staff and how you guys really enjoy being with one another. For you, how did this opportunity kind of come about for you to be able to come here to Terre Haute, to be a part of this football program, and what it meant to get that phone call and know that you had an opportunity to come and be able to take on this role now for 3 years ago?
Yeah, so I student coached for 4 years in college. I actually was on a unique situation. I went to Siena Heights University in Michigan and student coached for 4 years. Wanted to be a coach all the way through. I was on the defensive side. And then once I get out of college, I had to do my internship, and I did my internship in operations at Florida Tech. And then once from there, like I said, my dad was there at the time as well. I finished up that stint. The timing, Coach Mallory got the job. I was actually in Baltimore with my girlfriend who's in here, Marquita, and we were in Baltimore visiting her brother who's in the Marines, and I was at the airport and looked down and saw a Wyoming area code, and I said, "Who the heck's this?" And just answered, and it was Coach Mallory. And like I said, he found out I was on operations and kind of it being kind of a entry-level operations position at the time. So like I said, it was all history from there. Hopped on a plane 2 days later, was here. Was also the video coordinator at the time, which never did video coordinating in my life, so I was kind of grabbing at air for that. But like I said, everything kind of worked out from that standpoint.
What's been the biggest thing you've enjoyed so far through 3 years, through all the different hats that you've had to wear?
I would say the biggest thing is that it lived up to what I imagined growing up, obviously, in football with my dad, and how close-knit and the family aspect and going to work. And I always heard my dad say going to work and feeling like it's not a job. Could never imagine that going through college, always understanding, going through school, and it never felt that way. Going through school, it never felt like it was not going to work. And so finally getting that feeling of going to work and it didn't feel like work. I sometimes get addicted, as my girlfriend would tell you. I'm at times where I'm always at work. But I would say that has been the most enjoyable part, is coming in with the staff and my buddies are there. It's what it feels like. And obviously going to work, there's also a serious time to it. So believe me, I'm a competitive guy as well. So when it comes to competing in my realm and competing to try to get the best for the players, that's kind of what I like to do.
So somehow, growing up with Mark Smith as your dad, you still wanted to be a college football coach?
Yeah, and like I said, just being in that realm, I didn't know any different. I couldn't imagine being out of the realm. But yeah, obviously seeing his commitment all the way through and seeing what that did for my family and what this profession has done for my family, obviously is huge. So.
You spend so much time around the guys throughout the week, probably just as much, if not more than anybody on staff and more than anybody on campus. What do you enjoy just about the connection that you're able to build with the student athletes? Because I think sometimes that gets lost in the shuffle a little bit. Of course, everybody has a professional aspirations and where they want to go, but the whole reason why you're here and the staff is here is to impact student athletes' lives. What do you enjoy most about being around guys like Dakota Caton and Michael Hoppert, who we'll talk to later on in the show, and just being able to be such a presence in their lives throughout the year, not just during football season?
Yeah, and like I said, touching those lives is one thing, and Coach Mallory has always, made that very clear from the, we're here to increase their quality of life as well from a college standpoint. And obviously, any impact that I've had on that, and those guys are seeing their appreciation and seeing what it's come from the transformation of what they had when we first got here to seeing what they have now, and their appreciation and they're willing to want to get out in the community and give back, and really seeing their commitment to the program is something special, and being able to be a part of that and knowing that they can come in. My door is always open, just like a coach, and they come in and they feel relaxed and they feel like they don't have to hold anything back. If they've got something on their chest, they know I'm always there, and that aspect has always been one of the best parts of the job. It makes you, like I said, makes it feel like you're not at work. You're really just there for the guys, and like I said, it's all a program-based thing, but that's just the feeling you get when they come in, and it's just, like I said, it's a comfortability level that you gain, and like I said, I feel like I have that with majority of them. As they come in, they slowly grasp that, and they slowly see that I'm trying to help them in those capacities, and so that's usually the connection that it ends up being.
Director of Football Operations Craig Smith is our guest here at the Indiana State Coaches Show at 7th and Elm from the corner of Food and Fun. Let's kind of move in. You mentioned how a lot of these coaches are your buddies. Well, some of them you've grown up with for a long time because of how just the coaching families kind of intertwine. I know Tyler, Coach Funk is one of them. There's many others on this staff. What do you just like about being able to coach, like you said, with your buddies, and why that makes this job not a job in your eyes?
Yeah, it's really going to work just knowing they've got your back. I guess that's what easily makes that feeling. You go to work, and once again, it's that comfortability level that you know that they're always going to be there for you. Anything going on, whether it's coaching related, whether it's life related. A lot of those guys have been there. Obviously our staff dynamic was set up the way it was by Coach Mallory from a standpoint. He had the older group that had obviously the knowledge and obviously leaning on them for those certain aspects. He set it up that way on purpose, obviously. So using those resources to come in and learn and be a sponge and soak up all the different program stuff. Obviously coming into a young college kid, you think you know it all going in, and being around college football, it made me have that feeling a little more, and then you get there and it opens your eyes, and you just got to be a sponge at all times. And guys like Coach Abrams has been a guy I've leaned on heavy as well. We hit it off right away. We have a lot of the same similar looks on life, I should say. But they're just almost anyone on staff I feel comfortable enough to go and have any type of conversation with. And there's times that obviously I have in my role I have to be to break bad news, whether it's good, bad, or whatever. Having that comfortability level going in there and looking Coach Wilson in the eyes and telling him something's changed and just hope he didn't rip my head off. But that's kind of gaining that comfortability level is huge.
Well, one of the things, I'm sure many of the folks here have seen it because I know a lot of the folks here are staff and friends of the program, but we did a day in the life of Craig Smith, your first fall camp, I believe, here. Well, your day in the life has changed a little bit because you now have an army. Back then, it was kind of just Craig Smith ordering about 100+ chicken nuggets from Burger King over the phone. You now have a really good army behind you. Kind of talk about the support aspect. And, of course, it helps when you have a head coach who wants to help you out and invest in the staff that comes around you. Alex Powell being one of them, really helping you guys from a graphics perspective, recruiting perspective, but also just that video team with Adam Hodge, Cole Trammell, who's here. Adam Dennison helps you out a ton from the recruiting aspect. When it was kind of small, maybe when it started, now all of a sudden you guys really do have a legit army.
Absolutely, and once again it goes back to I had a hard time in the beginning of being able to delegate or anything from that standpoint, just because it was my first time being in the role and understanding that you had to delegate. and leaning on people like John Sherman, who knew the place the back of their hand. Obviously showing me the ropes from that standpoint of getting to know people, know who to go to for this and that type of stuff, and really learning that. And then, like I said, we've only developed. Coach Mallory and I talk about this all the time. We finally developed an operation where it's smooth and it actually is functioning. I mean, to be honest, when we first got here, it felt like we weren't functioning. There was a lot of aspects that were out of place that we were trying to scramble for, that we've slowly developed. Getting an Adam Hodge, who's been an outstanding hire, obviously, in the video coordinator aspect. And then you got guys like Cole Trammell and some students who have stepped up and kind of had a major role in all this. And you never, those small roles that people think are student managers, all that stuff, that stuff can be hard to find. And when you find a good one, it goes a long way. And we try to express our gratitude to them as much as we can. But yeah, like you said, the Army, Alex Powell, the graphics world. I mean, if you see our social media stuff, and in the past couple of months, I mean, he puts out some really good stuff. It really tends to today's day and age. And that goes a long way, not only in recruiting, but also, in the day-to-day, being able to follow the Sycamores. But those, like I said, the Army is slowly developed, and they all play a key role, and they take a ton off me, and enable me to get to a somewhat of a life outside of football a little bit too.
Yeah, I know Coach Abrams can talk about it too, because he's obviously your guys' recruiting coordinator. But when you think of day one when you came in to now, I think it's probably the most proper way I can ask it. Where do you feel you guys have enhanced just the brand of Indiana State football from the standpoint? Because to be honest, when your staff kind of came in, there wasn't a huge social media presence for Indiana State football. I think that is now totally flipped. And I think a lot of young recruits now know Indiana State because of your guys' social media presence. How important was that really from day one for you guys to really make sure that, yeah, you got to win on the field, and that's everything what you guys are going to try to do starting this weekend against Southern Illinois. But how important has the aspect really been from Coach Mallory down to you to make sure that you do have that footprint on social media and that you're doing those things, which now is kind of the evolution of what college athletics is?
Yeah, and like you said, the big thing you see with a lot of staffs when they first get in there, they try to make a splash. They always, have that real immediate social presence on social media, but they don't carry it on. It seems that it kind of dies off after the beginning phase happens. That was one thing that we stayed organized and made sure that it was consistent all the way through. And Coach Abrams and Adam did a great job of staying consistent and making sure that we had a plan in place of a theme we wanted to go with, making sure it's unique to us. But making that splash was huge because, like you said, reaching those today's day and age, social media is by far the number one in any statistic from reaching recruits. But from that standpoint, like I said, it wasn't just about quantity. There was a lot about quality, and we transitioned from there. Where we thought originally was good quality from us, we look back now from our day one, and I was going through my phone the other day, and it's just how far we've come even from us, just within, has been a major progress.
Craig Smith, Director of Football Operations for Indiana State Football, our guest here on the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm, corner of Food and Fun. Indiana State getting ready for Southern Illinois this weekend. Talk a little football, Craig. Last year, 2-4. Everyone kind of thought the Sycamores were going to be dead in the water. We're able to rattle off 5 straight wins, got into the playoff conversation a year ago. This year right now, sitting at 3-5. Why is this a group, as you guys continue to work with, still feel that the confidence is there where you can make another late season run?
The main thing that I think that is repeated over, we're staying together, but not a whole lot has changed. I mean, we talk about Ryan Boyle being out and the next man up. From a year ago, we're not that far off from where we were from that standpoint. We've got a few guys here and there out, but to say that it can't be done again, I mean, that's the main hitting point is, we've been there, and the staff's not only been there, but a lot of these players have been there. It's not just this isn't all new to them. They've seen this turnaround. They've seen the 2-4. A lot of the guys that are on the team have seen the 0-11. So they know that obviously we're not out from being out. So that's that's the biggest thing is just I think they understand just staying together and staying the course is going to be crucial in this next few games. And everyone's battling the same thing we are. Is the big thing Coach Mallory always says, and we're not the only ones in this, and like I said, we gotta just keep fighting.
One of the biggest things we'll talk about later on the show, of course, is Michael Hopper and the addition he's been able to make at Wildcat quarterback. I'll ask this question to Mike too, but what's better, his Wildcat quarterback abilities or his singing abilities? Because I know you've heard him do some karaoke, do some singing too. He's done it around the team, I know in the locker room in different settings. I don't know if I'll put him on the spot. I don't know if they have karaoke night here at 7th and L. We may have to get that for the second half of the show, but that's a pretty tough question because both of them are pretty high up there. I have to say myself. But
yeah, I haven't actually heard a whole lot. I'm excited to hear now some singing. I don't know if I've heard a whole lot. But Mike, obviously, as a player, I know Coach Mallory would say this from a serious standpoint of what he's done for this team, of going to DB, of going to all those different – I mean, he's never – lost a step, man. He's attacked it every day, and I've watched him since that. And like I said, Coach Mallory said we got to find a spot for this guy, wherever it is. He's got to get on the field somehow because he's special. So I do know that was from Coach Mallory's words. I know he's always said that in all of our staff meetings. We got to find a spot for this guy to get him on the field. So. That's my take on it. I guess I go with Coach Mallory's words.
Well, and I know a lot of folks in this room feel the same way too. Obviously we get to work with each other a lot throughout the week, and trying to find a spot for Mike Hopper on the field, just like you, it's easy to find a spot for you in this program because of everything you do and, of course, how much you help me throughout the year. I always appreciate it. I appreciate you coming on the show and spend a few minutes with us here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. Craig Smith.
Luke, I appreciate the time, and I appreciate you, brother.
Always, Craig. Thanks, buddy. That was Craig Smith. We're going to take a break. When we come back, the singing man, Michael Hopper, will be our guest. You're listening to Indiana State Football, the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and L. And welcome back to 7th and Elm for the Indiana State Coaches Show. One day before his birthday, which he shares with Dakota Caton as well, which we'll talk about here on the Coaches Show. Great to catch up with Craig Smith to start us off. Mike Hopper, Wildcat quarterback. He's been kind of Mr. Do-Everything for Indiana State football this year. Mike, I'm not going to force you to sing. I promise you about that. But appreciate you taking time, man. I know it's been a year where you've had to battle through some personal adversity in terms of injuries, all sorts of stuff. What's it meant like for you? I know the wins haven't necessarily been there, but what's it been like for you to know that you're playing a pivotal role for this football team?
Yeah, I mean, it means a lot to me personally. I know that I've been obviously moved to a lot of different positions, and to finally find a solid role within the team and do my part to be productive, it means a lot to me.
You mentioned finding your role on this team because you've been in so many different positions. I think you've been moved to defensive back at one point in time. You've been a wide receiver at one point in time.
Yes, that is correct.
And, of course, now quarterback. You've been a tailback, too. You've been, I think, everything but offensive line, right?
Yeah.
Coach Switz hasn't put
much.
you in there with the big boys,
No.
so we may have to get that switched around at some point. How, when you are moved around to so many different positions, do you still keep that mindset that you have, that you believe you're going to get out there, you're going to help this team in any way, and not take it from a selfish point of view and maybe trying to focus on a specific position?
Yeah, no, every time I've been moved, I've kind of taken it head on. Coach Mel called me in his office like, hey, we're going to move you to either DB or running back. And every time I'm like, all right, I'm going to do whatever it takes to do my best at that position and hopefully make an impact on the team. So it's just kind of a less selfish approach, and I just want to do the best I can, best my ability, in order to help the team in any way possible. And I tell Coach Mel that every single time that he's moved me.
Of course, you came from Fort Wayne. Fort Wayne Snyder is where you played. Of course, Christian Covington also was a teammate of yours during high school. What stood out about Indiana State and this opportunity to come here and why you wanted to be a part of this program?
Yeah, when I took my visit in January, my dad was there with me, and it was so much better than what I expected. Like when I got here, the atmosphere, the coaching staff, the university from an academic standpoint, everything just really stood out to me. And when I left, kind of gave my dad a look, and he smiled, and he was like, I know what you're thinking. And I was like, yeah, I'm definitely going to commit to Indiana State. So it was definitely a no-brainer for me after I left, and I have no regrets.
How important was last year, even though necessarily you didn't get to play a ton, but what it meant to kind of watch, still go through practice, whether it's scout team, you were scout team quarterback a ton a year ago, even at sometimes early on this year. How being in those roles have helped you get ready for what you're doing now?
Yeah, last year it definitely meant a lot. Learned from older guys like Cottrell Moss, Rondo Green, just kind of watching how they performed during practice, what example they set for the team as leaders, and just kind of taking that on into this year in my role now.
Have you always felt that this could be a goal for you, that playing Division I football was something you could reach? Did it come kind of into your eyesight towards the end of your high school career? When was the moment for you that you felt, you know what, I'm going to pursue this because I really think I can do it?
Really, it was always really my dream. My dad played college football, and I'd always tell myself, he played at a Division II level, and I told myself I want to be better than that. And so I pushed myself to a higher standard to get higher than where he was at. I know he's proud of that. That's always just been my mindset to get to this Division I level.
Well, you mentioned your dad. It seems like I always see him everywhere, no matter where we're at on the road. The importance to have that connection, because you guys spend so much time around your teammates. I know you spend a lot of time around Dakota or whomever it is. To know that you still got that support at home and to have somebody that's with you home, away, no matter where you go.
Yeah, I mean, it means so much. I know not only to me, but to any of my teammates. I mean, it starts family first. Coaches say that they have their own families as well away from football, and it means so much to just know that they're supporting you in everything that you do. They're there for you whenever you need. And just to have that support system, it just means a lot.
Of course, this past weekend, 24-7 loss to Illinois State on the road in Normal. Have you dried out yet? It looks like your shirt is dry. In terms of, did you make the Louisville trip last year?
I did. I was there.
How would you describe the wetness from Louisville to the wetness at Illinois State this past weekend? Same, more wet, less wet?
From a wetness standpoint, I'd probably think it's about the same. I want to say Illinois State was probably a little colder due to being a little later in the season than Louisville, but it was pretty close to each other.
Despite the wetness and everything, I know that also played a factor in the game. What was the biggest takeaway that you guys have from the offense from this past weekend, Mike?
Yeah, definitely ball security. Main thing. Turnovers they're not your best friend during a game. So that's one thing that we need to work on. And then just execution as a whole. I mean, obviously we had some good plays, had some bad plays, and just being more consistent with the good plays for sure.
Do you guys feel like you're close? And if so, what keeps you guys going despite maybe there being the frustrations with the turnovers that's kind of happened the past couple of weeks? How do you guys keep focused on the fact that you're close, that you're almost there, and not let the frustration of just not getting there quite yet get in the way?
Yeah, I mean, our offensive coordinator, Coach Swiss, he tells us we're right there all the time after every game, and we as an offense, we know that we're there, and so we attack every single practice to get to that peak of top execution. And so from an offensive standpoint, our preparation and everything, it just needs to increase, and just as a player standpoint, we need to hold each other accountable to a higher standard to get to that top execution level.
Where do you feel you've grown just in the short about 3 weeks that you've been back from injury and been able to officially been in that quarterback room and kind of take on what's been your Wildcat role?
Yeah, I would say probably things are just kind of slowed down for me. At first, kind of going in for my first kind of Wildcat rep, everything was kind of a little bit all over the place, kind of going a little fast. But as the weeks have progressed, I've kind of taken a step back, and everything's kind of slowed down, taking in more information and just reacting better.
Being able to react better, getting that playing time, how much more confident do you feel just with each and every time you're able to step out onto that field?
Oh, yeah, I'm so much more confident. Obviously, I mean, with the first rep, you're always a little nervous, anxious, but as you keep getting reps and keep going throughout the week, you get more confidence in yourself, more confidence in their teammates. Teammates have more confidence in you, so it's just kind of, yeah.
You mentioned the team aspect. I think that's one thing that really is special about this group, and I hope that's kind of been showcased on all of our shows throughout this fall, whether it's talking to the assistants, talking to guys like yourself, Mike. Kind of go in. I know you're really close with Dakota. We'll get to that here in just a moment, but how would you really describe this team dynamic and what it is like each and every day to whether go on the road with these guys, just go down the street here to your football offices, just that day-to-day life that you guys live and what it's like being a part of this program?
It's special. That's probably the best word that I can put it as. It's special. Going in every day, walking into meetings, guys are playing ping pong, laughing with each other outside of meetings, and then when it's time to clock in, we clock in. And then when it's outside of football, we're all each other's best friends, hanging out with each other, whether it's at our homes, wherever it may be. But we're just a special group, and we all have each other's best interest.
You know, so much has been made about who's not playing at times. And I think from a fan's perspective, that can maybe be understandable. And I've asked this to Coach Mallory, I've asked to the coaches and many of you guys too throughout the week. Why do you guys feel this is still a team that's got the pieces that you can accomplish the goals you want to, despite maybe others saying, well, they don't have this, they don't have that, this guy's gone, that guy's gone. You guys know that you have more than enough pieces to be able to accomplish what you want to on a week-to-week basis.
Yeah, Coach Mal stresses was it's the next guy up mentality, and all the guys that have stepped up to the plate, they've done a great job. They're prepared, and they have to be prepared because you never know when your number is going to be called. So everybody's prepared. They all do a great job, and we just stress that.
Now let's talk about your twin, Dakota Caton, which many people call yourself twins. It's kind of a weird story. I remember being told this about a year ago. I think at this time. It may have been a couple years ago.
Yeah.
But not only do you guys share the same birthday, but you were also born in the same hospital on the same day.
That is correct.
Can you kind of explain that story a little bit?
Yeah.
And just
Yeah, so this was during fall camp of last year when I got moved to receiver, and we're sitting in the offices waiting for a meeting to start. And I don't know how we got on the topic of birthdays, but every whole room's going around talking about their birthday, and it gets to me, and I'm like, well, it's October 29th. And that obviously catches Dakota's ear. He's like, what'd you just say? I was like, oh, it was October 29th. And at first he thought I was just messing with him. He's like, no, you're lying. I'm like, no, I'm not. So we pull out each other's IDs, and sure enough, it's the same exact birthday. And we were kind of like, whoa. Like kind of taken back because you don't find someone has the same birthday as you that often. So it kind of took us back. I think that's really what kind of sparked our friendship, to be honest. So that's basically the story on that.
And then ultimately, now you guys are roommates.
Yep, that's correct.
So you're roommates. You were born on the same day, born in the same hospital. That's just a crazy connection that you guys. It was just meant to be from day one.
Yeah, and we'll find new stuff about each other all the time. Like just a few weeks ago, we found out we were in Disney World the same time in the 6th grade. We just found that out about 2 weeks ago. So there's always new stuff that we find out about each other, and it's crazy.
Is he ever a duet partner with you? Does he ever step out and – I know he's got some Old Town Road remix I've seen from time to time.
Oh, yeah.
I have to say, I think I think your singing ability maybe surpasses that.
He's not a very bad duet partner. Him and I will sing all the time in our apartment. No matter what song, he's always. It may not be the best, but he does his best. He tries. He puts in effort, but yeah, we have fun.
I'm sure he's probably a little flustered with his Bears right now, so it's probably why he's not singing a ton with you these days. Is that probably true?
Oh yeah, probably. Yeah, they need to get a better field goal kicker for sure.
Yeah, I don't think we'll talk about the Bears very much with Dakota Caton coming up. Mike, always appreciate the time, man. Congrats on what's been a really good year for you so far. And like Craig said, I know Coach has said, you really busted your rear end for this opportunity. It's great to see you take advantage of it, but let's get a win this weekend at home against Southern Illinois.
Love to hear it.
Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
appreciate it, buddy. That was Mike Hoppert. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to be joined by Dakota Caton here on the Indiana State Coaches Show. You're listening to Indiana State football from Sycamore Athletics. It's the Indiana State Coaches Show, live from 7th and Elm Bar and Grill. Big thank you to Mike Hoppert for stopping on by, saying hello, talking to us. It's now time to talk to the twin of Dakota Caton, I guess. Or I should say let's just say Mike Hoppert is your twin, not the other way around. Dakota Caton, of course, Sullivan star for the Sullivan Golden Arrows. Now, of course, playing here for Indiana State. Dakota, it's always good to talk to you, my man. I know you guys, of course, won to get the win this past weekend, but overall, how would you really just describe you guys as you get back to work tomorrow and get ready for the Salukis on Saturday?
Yeah, we Coach Switch talked to us yesterday. He's talking about holding each other accountable, and we got to come in this week, prepared, and just get better at the little things, just fixing the ball security, and just fixing the little mistakes that here and there. And once we get that down, we're gonna get rolling.
I know I've talked to you about how you have really relished this opportunity to show that you can play at this level, and to think of how much you've grown from the first time you touched the football at this level. You took it to a house on a punt return against Quincy last year, to now being a main target for Curtis throwing the football. From all that time in between, where's Dakota Caton grown the most during his time here at Indiana State?
I'd say from an offensive side, from last year to this year, is just being able to read the coverage better. From whether figuring out if it's cover 2, cover 3, just working on that route and finding the open space, to get open for Kurt and Gunner, Ryan.
One of the things I think that always has separated you and why you've been able to have so much success is a big chip on the shoulder. How long have you really had that type of mentality for yourself? Of course, you had a really great career down in Sullivan. You put up a lot of big numbers in high school. How have you always just had that work ethic of just feeling like you've always had something to prove?
Well, coming from a small town, during my recruiting process, ISU was the only school who actually truly looked at me, and they came to every camp. They're always right there talking to me, and it's just being able to prove to myself that I can keep getting better at everything, and that's just that mentality, just that no one's gonna stop me. And I would say it's kind of cocky to say, like, because I go out in the field and say, I'm the best player in the field. That's the mentality I have, because I have to have that to play at that next level and just prove everybody that I can play.
One of the things I know that had to be frustrating was, of course, going through your concussion earlier this year after the Dayton game. I know that was a long road back for you.
Sure.
Even though it's something I know you never will want to repeat, and God willing, hope you never have to go through again. But how has that made you really appreciate the time you get now playing after football really was taken away from you there for about 3-4 weeks?
4.5 weeks, yeah. I mean, I've never been through an injury like that where I couldn't do anything. I couldn't go to meetings. I couldn't, go to practice or anything. I had to sit, in a dark room and just look in the dark, And it was rough, but, I think obviously it wasn't good to go through that. But for me personally, it's made me a better person and realize, like, how much I truly do love the game of football.
Yeah, not that you need a reminder to know how much you love the game of football, but I'm sure I remember talking to you, I forget what game it was, but you were there at the stadium and you said, I have to watch the game from the Sycamore room because just, of course, kind of getting back from the concussion with the sun coming down on you, all those sort of things. I mean, how painful was that just even when you're at the game and you're there and you want to support your teammates because of obviously the situation that you're in, you'd even have to watch the game from a controlled room and kind of a controlled environment.
No, that was definitely rough. Mike actually went through that with me too at that time, and we first half we were sitting in the Sycamore room and we went into the locker room at halftime. We're like, dude, we got to go out there. Like, come on, we got to go out there. No, then we started watching from the door and then just trying to cheer on the team, and it's something we had to go through.
This has been a big talking point with a lot of the players and a lot of you guys that have been through it. How huge has it been to have someone like Kellen Norris this year? And I know Steven as well, and the whole crew has been outstanding. But Kellen specifically, to help someone like yourself, who's, of course, going through a difficult injury, to get back and get ready to go, but also when you get back, to keep you healthy and to keep you ready to stay out there on the field.
No, he's definitely a big factor to just every person that goes through an injury. He's there. He's helping us. Even his biggest thing that he told me was he loves to see people go through rehab and get back. He loves like when I came back and I scored those 2 touchdowns. He was happy for me, and it was great to see. And the relationships during my concussion, the relationship with Matt and Steven and Kellen, they knew I was frustrated, and they really helped me through that.
You guys as an offense, and you've talked about it, you're close. It's not like you're far away from being able to reach your goals. But what's been the biggest motivating factor for you guys as an offense, Dakota, throughout this year? Is just something you're like, man, this is just continuing to push us to get to where we ultimately want to be.
Yeah, we know what we have. We know we can run the ball. We know we can pass the ball. We have all the weapons to do that. And it's just that, like I said before, just doing the little things right. And just whether that's like one play here, it's just like Coach Switz said, just getting all 11 guys to do their job, and that's how we're going to execute.
I know this is really probably a very silly or stupid question from my part, but is that kind of why there's just been why it's frustrating so much, is because you give credit when credit is due. South Dakota State, obviously a terrific opponent. Illinois State, have a lot of respect for them. You can go throughout the schedule through other teams, but when you turn on that film and go, gosh, if there was just 1 or 2 things that we could have done differently, that game could have been different. Has that just kind of been, I guess, probably the biggest frustration that you guys have had so far?
Yeah, I would say that's the biggest frustration. I'm looking at it back from Kansas, just Kansas to now. It's just a few plays here, and, every game changes, a few plays there and the game changes just like that. And, that's pretty frustrating, but, we just got to keep rolling and just get the win,
As much as it is frustrating, though, that's got to be a little bit of optimism, because it's one thing if you're getting your tail kicked in each and every week, you're probably not thinking that you're close. Right. But you guys really do feel like you're close.
Yeah, and that's why it's so frustrating, because we know we could be undefeated, but, we just got to keep doing what we do and just get rid of the little mistakes, and we're right there.
To see a close friend like Mike Hoppert, who, as you mentioned, was also going through some injuries with yourself, concussion and such, to see him get on the field with you and to be able to have success. I know you're happy with just the team having success, but how much more special is it when you know it's a guy that shares the same birthday with you?
No, it's definitely really special. I mean, beginning of the year he was on, he was on every special teams, and I can't remember, I think it was South Dakota State. He had that long run, and I was on the sideline jumping up and down, just going like that. It was exciting. It was really exciting.
Other than the fact that you guys, as Mike kind of alluded to, shared the same birthday, some things that kind of sparked, obviously there's more that's got to gel and connect than just that for you guys to be close. What makes you guys so close? What do you enjoy just about your relationship with Mike, and what makes you guys such a good duo?
We share similar interests. We always we always just talk about, even if we're at home, we're watching a movie or just talking, we're always laughing, and that we have that bond, that a lot of people don't have, and it's pretty special, especially, that we met from, realizing we have the same birthday. It's pretty crazy that we ended up at the same college, so it's pretty awesome.
Of course, growing up in Sullivan, being able to play close by, when you go through a game day, when you make that march to Memorial Stadium like you will on Saturday, when you start pulling that jersey down and getting ready for a game, what just goes through your mind when you know you're playing Division I football, you're doing a lot of things that you've set out to do, and it's no longer a dream, it's a reality, and to do it where you have so much family that's being able to watch you every step of the way?
No, it's definitely really special. Even at the at the home games, we got 50 people from Sullivan. That's
everybody, right?
Yeah,
no, I'm just kidding. Sullivan's not that smart. I hope the Sullivan folks aren't too mad at me for making that jab there a little bit.
No, but it's definitely a very special feeling. There's a song called, "Put On for Your City," and that's kind of what I do, and just to put on for the family and just to show little kids, it's possible to do that.
Yeah. Do you have a specific put on for your city that Mike Hoppert sings? You've put on your iPod or iPhone that you get ready for the game?
No, Mike Hopp's more Ed Sheeran guy,
Oh, yeah. Well, I've heard that. We've heard his duet with Jonas Griffith from time to time on the Indiana State football roster. Just looking towards this weekend, Dakota, what are some of the main things that you guys are going to be focusing on throughout this week to get ready for what will hopefully be a big win on Saturday against the Southern Illinois Salukis?
I'd say the execution again. Just fixing the little things, that ball security. Making the right reads as receivers, quarterbacks, and as the O-line. Just making the right blocks and not missing a block. And I think if we do everything, all the little things right, we're gonna get the win.
Should be a fun one on Saturday. Indiana State, Southern Illinois, kickoff at 1 o'clock. If you can be there on Saturday at Memorial Stadium. Dakota, always appreciate the time, buddy.
You too. Thank you.
Once again, that was Dakota Caton. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up the show. Here from 7th and Elm. You're listening to the Indiana State Coaches Show live from 7th and Elm. Hard to believe that this is the final Indiana State football coaches show this fall. Big thank you to Tom and Mary Hellman for being great hosts for us. I know Tom and Mary aren't here tonight, but always a big thank you to them and our support staff table here to our left for all the shows throughout the year. It's been definitely a huge blast. Of course, Indiana State head coach Kirk Mallory could not join us here tonight. Coach Mallory apologizes, but some personal reasons, some family reasons, he won't be here. We will still have Coach Mallory on the coaches show moving forward with the basketball shows until football season is over, just in terms of the football show, in terms of the whole hour being dedicated to Sycamore football. This will be the last show from that perspective for Indiana State football this year. Sycamores, of course, coming off the tough loss against Illinois State this past weekend, 24-7, a game that was 10-7. Entering the fourth quarter, Redbirds scored 17 points off 3 Indiana State turnovers. All of those coming in the second half. We heard Mike Hoppert, Dakota Caton, and the rest of the Sycamores describing that. That's what needs to change for Indiana State to have a chance this weekend against Southern Illinois. The Salukis pounded South Dakota this past weekend. 48-28 was the final score. The Salukis going into Vermillion, South Dakota, and getting that win. Salukis are red hot right now. They're coming off 2 blowout wins in the Valley, beating Youngstown State 35-10 in Carbondale, and then like we just mentioned, beating South Dakota 48-28. They've really dominated the first half in those previous 2 games. They outscored Youngstown 28-10 in the first half in Carbondale, and they led South Dakota 34-7 at halftime in the Dakota Dome a week ago. It's going to be a heck of a challenge on Saturday for Indiana State. Again, the Salukis, they started this year 2-3. Remember, 4 of their first 5 games were on the road. So Southern Illinois is used to being on the road. Being at Memorial Stadium won't be any different for them. Hopefully we see a lot of blue in the stands to be able to make your way out and see Indiana State and Southern Illinois. One of the key factors in the game is going to be Javon Williams. He also runs the Wildcat for Southern Illinois. That's been a big jump for the Salukis this year. We talked to Mike Hopper, what he's been able to do offensively for Indiana State. Javon Williams was the first Saluki ever in their win against Youngstown State this year to run for a touchdown, catch a touchdown, and threw for a touchdown. He's the only Saluki to do that in one game. Javon Williams Jr. is going to be a heck of a load for the Sycamores to try to bring down on Saturday, but nonetheless, Indiana State will try to do just that against the Southern Illinois Salukis. A lot of football left for Indiana State. Remember, the Sycamores were 2-4 last year before rattling off 5 straight wins and then got themselves into the FCS football playoff conversation. Sycamores to get back into that conversation this year. It all starts on Saturday with a win against Southern Illinois and trying to get on a roll here late throughout the year. Again, Coach Mallory not here, but want to say a big thank you to Coach Mallory for being able to open up his staff for the Indiana State Coaches Show this season. Of course, we talked to Craig Smith earlier on the show, all of the assistant coaches. Big thank you as well to our Olympic sports coaches who joined us throughout the fall as well. Mitch Hannes being one of them, who's in the back of the room here tonight with his wife Amy as well here too. So Indiana State, all of our Olympic sports coaches for stopping by throughout the year. It's been a lot of fun, but again, the coaches shows will continue next week. Greg Lansing and Vicky Hall will be joined by Brian Fritz as well. We'll have a conversation with head coach Kurt Mallory. So again, a big thank you to Tom and Mary Hellman for making this possible this fall for the Indiana State Football Coaches Show live from 7th and Elm. For everybody with Indiana State football, from everybody here at the corner of food and fun, we'll see you Saturday. It's time to beat the Salukis.